predict to win tonight?
Tomorrow.
Brazil, Netherlands. Who do you think will win?
I think the Netherlands will win.
What do you have a prediction in terms of goals?
Maybe 2-1, maybe 3-2.
What do you think?
Well, I think Brazil will win because I think, honestly, the Netherlands and their coach are not really interested. For the Brazilians, it means something to them to try and get some consolation at home. So I think they will want it more. And I think that's why they will win.
But when you look at the likes of Van Persie, who knows that his chances of going to another World Cup now, not that he's too old, but another 4 years.
If Van Persie, some of the top players will probably not play. You'll probably not feel them. You'll probably feel those players who have not, third place matches, coaches tend to feel players who've not had any action in the tournament. You'll probably not, if Van Persie will probably not want to go out there on the pitch. That's the truth.
Okay, what's your thought?
Yeah, I like to see Netherlands win.
You want them to win?
I like to see them win. I want them to win.
You don't even want Brazil to get anything.
Bimbo have said it earlier on. I do not think that the Brazilians have enough psychological steel to come and beat Netherlands. And then,
okay. Now
so
let's
we'll wait and see.
We'll wait and see.
And let's bring it home.
Now let's come back to let's come to the finals then. Argentina against before we bring it home. Argentina against what's it called? It's German demolishers or what?
Demolition machine.
Who do you think will win? What do you expect to see on the pitch when they play the final?
The good thing about this World Cup is that it's so unpredictable. Nobody will have thought the Colombians, the Costa Ricans, the Algerians will have done what they did. That's the truth.
Little Costa Rica.
Yes, and nobody in the semi-final too would have thought the Germans would just roll over the Brazilians with ease. I recall the players saying, they spoke with one English tabloid that they had to tell themselves at halftime, take it enough. Let's just slow down the tempo in the second half. That's so disgraceful, so funny. But tomorrow, we hope to see a good game. I'm not going to stick out my neck. We'll see a good game. The Argentines want it. And the scenario is this. In the 1986 World Cup at the Azteca, recall the Argentines through Maradona, O'Hale, Burruchaga, Valdano, and others, they mystified the Germans, so to say. They beat them 3-2. Then the Germans took a pound of flesh in Italia 90, 1-0. That penalty scored by Andres Bremer. So it's 1-1 now. It's the deciding factor will be who wins tomorrow. So I'm just not going to stick out my neck. Who wants it more? Is it going to be Argentina or the Germans? But the truth, the Germans are on the high right now. Psychologically, they are well framed for the final, and all the pressure will be on Lionel Messi. He wants to impress. He needs it so badly. But then they're just across the border, the Argentina, the nation called Argentina. So they will troop to the stadium. They will really back their team so much.
So
tomorrow,
they'll have the 12th man.
I'm just in the middle.
Okay. But Deji, then when you look at it, I'd like you to focus on the fact that in terms of the goals, the spread of the goals amongst the Germans. I was looking at the analysis that's being done, and you look at the spread of the goals, quite a few of them have scored goals.
Yeah.
The number of goals scored by the Argentinians, not that many. They won very slim margin, and the number of goals means that limited number of people have scored.
Yeah.
And there is a major dependence on Lionel Messi. Do you think that kind of team will have any good chance of being able to clear?
Well, your point is very simple. The Germans are a much more balanced team. They spread the goals around. But one thing about Argentina is, surprisingly, they've defended well in this tournament. They've played 6 matches. They've conceded only 3 goals, 2 of those against Nigeria. And they've not conceded in the knockout stage. When you defend well, you're giving yourself a chance to win. You could argue about the quality of both. They've defended well against Holland, and one of the best scoring teams in the tournament. So, from that, I believe Argentina will, and I don't think the Germans will expect that they will have the kind of game against Brazil against Argentina. It's not going to happen twice. So I feel that it's going to be a very tight game. The Germans will show Argentina a bit more respect. Argentina would try and be as defensively solid as they've been in the knockout stage, and it probably would be one moment of magic. There are many players on both sides who can produce that moment of magic. But sentimentally, not for a footballing reason, not for any reason, I want Argentina to win. It's pure sentiment. I have my reasons for that.
Yeah, the Germans, I hope they've taken a note from the Dutch. The Dutch never allowed Lionel Messi to shoot any ball within their 18. He never got into that box. They kept him out. If the Germans can do that, then the Germans will win. And the Germans, they have the personnel to do that, to hold Messi and then to attack. But if they are not able to do that to Messi, I can assure you also that Argentina, a goal from Messi or anybody in the Argentine team, the Germans will find it difficult getting back.
Okay.
And like
Valera,
Deji have
we'll
also said,
Okay.
I want Argentina to win.
Okay, let's bring it back home. The FIFA Emergency Committee decided to suspend the Nigeria Football Federation on account of government interference. That was the big news in the course of the week. What are your thoughts on that? Government interference. Please, can you translate that into English?
Government interference. If you have a child and you send your child to school, you expect your child to be responsible to you, even as you've been responsible to your child. The truth is, Africa is a different climate entirely, and Nigeria is in Africa. There is no way FIFA, the World Soccer Governing Body, will say the government should not interfere in football, because who runs the football in the country? The government. Look at the Nigeria Premier League. Just 2 of the teams in the Nigeria Premier League are privately owned. Nimbe City and Giwa. Every other team is owned by the government. And look at the World Cup that we even went to prosecute. In the middle of the competition, when there was crisis and camp, they needed to give the boys money. $3.2 million was given to the team by the government. Now, so an organization is saying the government should not have a hand in running the affairs of the game. It's wrong. But on the other side, you want to say why you're a signatory to FIFA and you should be bound, so to say, by the rules of FIFA. That's why I said when I started off that this is Africa, this is Nigeria. Perhaps there should be a different rule to guide Africa as against what is happening in Europe and some other climes, because in Europe it's privately run, everything is private, but in Nigeria it's the government. We have the stadium, but for God's sake, the government is in charge of everything. Even those on the board of the Nigeria
Football is built by the government.
That's what we're saying. The government, even those on the board of the Nigeria Football Association, are sponsored by who? The government. The State Football Association, we have them, but who is running the teams? The government. So there is no way. We've been bantering over this for quite some time. There is no way you take away the government from it. If you take away government from it, let's see what the private sector can do to run football in Nigeria. But to me, right now, we are still at the embryonic stage.
So all right, I think for the purpose of people out there who are watching, so that we don't totally put out something that is not factual. Bimbo, is wrong to say that in Europe or elsewhere is private. No, the national team is a government property anywhere in the world. You represent the government makes an input into your funding.
But the
Now,
body that manages
the extent they do in Africa,
the football association in every country.
The government will not ferry $3.2 million to the English team, for instance, in the World Cup to give them money.
Because out there, everything has already been planned.
The English FA has, they have
players,
their partners.
Our players wanted to be paid upfront, what FIFA will pay Nigeria in about a month or 2. That is the crux of government ferrying money. It was also very wrong for government to have done that. If you really take your time to say, what are they demanding? Their share of FIFA money that hasn't come. That is the issue. Okay. Ghana did the same thing. The Ghana minister is already been fired by the government because lack of planning. That is the problem.
Okay. Now, okay, very quickly then, take a look at the fact that what Bimbo just mentioned regarding the management. Should there be one law for Africans and another for the rest of the world?
Exactly. I don't know if there are different rules on the football pitch when Nigeria played France. Is this so? Why don't we measure up? Should we remain where we are before? The whole thing is embarrassing because every 4 years we come back to this cycle. Government takes no learning from it. The people who they use to topple themselves don't take any learning. You get in there, you begin to think you are well seated. You don't want another person to come in. Government comes in again, cause a lot of ruckus, embarrass themselves and embarrass Nigeria. Government must find a nicer way of this interference, if it's what it's called. Not the Gestapo-style arrest. People are in court today being tried by EFCC for corruption that was alleged 4 years ago. One of them is part of the ministerial team that is causing the present issues. So what happened? Are they really corrupt? If they are, they shouldn't be around God. I mean, I have to mention it. Dr. Bolaji Ojoba is part of the 4 that was taken to court, accused of corruption. You haven't proven it. There's also a